I ate less than half of my breakfast, but drank at least 6 cups of coffee. Never in my life have I felt so lost, so empty, so defeated. I had heard people say that they wished they were dead, and now I knew what they meant. The only thing that made me want to live further was the thought of my children. I had to live for them. I had to go through this hell that Sharon created and create a future for them. This thought alone filled me with determination. I'll get through this. I just need to figure out how to do it. Sharon called my phone at least 20 times that day, and I always sent it to voicemail. She begged me to understand, but never once said she was sorry for what she had done. She never said she had made a mistake, only that she needed this one night, and my job was to understand and support her. All they did was have sex, and only 3 times a night and again in the morning. That's all. How can I not see that this was all just a one-night stand, easily forgiven and forgotten? She said she was afraid she didn't turn off her phone in time and I might have heard them start with Glenn. She hoped I didn't hear too much. I had to give her credit. She really knew how to plunge a knife into my heart and twist the blade. I couldn't believe she really was that stupid. I think if there was one good thing, it was that I now had enough audio evidence of her adultery to use against her in court. I wasn't sure if the audio evidence would be enough, but it was really compelling and left nothing to the imagination. Tomorrow, I will find a good lawyer and find out everything I need to know. I went to visit my children at my mother's. She said Sharon had already called to see how the kids were doing and to ask her if she knew where I was. Mom told her that I was broken because of what she did and I didn't want to see her or talk to her. She said Sharon started crying, saying, "I just don't understand." And my mom told her that no man would understand how a wife could throw a night of sex with another man in her husband's face. Sharon wanted to know if she should come and pick up the kids. But my mom said it would be best for her to keep them for a few more days until things calmed down a bit. The children were happy to see me, but wanted to know where their mother was. I told them that their mother was busy with a special project that was important to her and that they would be staying with their grandmother for a few more days. I played with them and we had dinner together. Then I hugged and kissed them goodbye and headed back to my motel. Tomorrow will be a busy day. I had one stop before I was done for the day. Well, actually, one drive past. I drove past my house, and as soon as I saw it, tears came to my eyes again. I cried for what I had lost and would never get back. I was a little surprised to not see any strange cars parked in the driveway. Of course, there could have been some guy's car in the garage, but since the only light was on downstairs in the kitchen, I was sure that Sharon was alone, at least tonight. And then it dawned on me that I still cared about her. No, I wouldn't take her back. She made sure of that. But it still hurt me deeply to think that she betrayed me the way she betrayed me with another man. I tried to resist the temptation to stop and spy on her, but I couldn't resist. I parked a block away and walked back to the side where I could look out the kitchen window. She was sitting at the table. An empty bottle of Grey Goose stood next to her. Her hair was a mess and it looked like mascara was running down her face. She was dressed in a robe. Her head lay on the table facing me. Her eyes were closed. It was obvious she was crying and was surrounded by what looked like the contents of a box of tissues. For a second, I felt sorry for her. Then I remembered what she willingly did to me and to our children, and my blood froze in my veins. I wanted to scream at her, but instead I returned to my car and drove away. I did feel a little satisfaction. Maybe she was really starting to understand what she had done. In any case, if she wanted someone to take pity on her, she could call her lover Glenn. Monday came early, and I had a lot to do. Breakfast at the diner consisted of eggs and toast with black coffee, but this time I ate it all. I called my mom and spoke to each of my children, letting them know that I loved them and would see them soon. I then called my office and told my assistant that I would be dealing with personal issues for the next 2 days, and if anything important needed my attention, she should call or text me. She asked me if something was wrong, and I told her, yes, but I'll explain later. During my senior year at Ole Miss, I shared an apartment with 2 close friends, Douglas Prater III and Maxwell McCrae. We became best friends, and although we only got to meet occasionally, we kept in touch with each other over the years. I got a degree in computer science while Doug got a degree in business administration, and Max became a lawyer. First, I called Doug and asked him if he and Max could meet me for drinks at about 5. I told him I needed their advice on an important matter, and Doug agreed to contact Max and meet me at the lava bar on the beach. I got there early. Max arrived a little after 5, and Doug showed up 10 minutes later. We greeted each other warmly and found a table on the patio, ordered beers, and toasted each other. "What's the matter, Frank?" Doug asked. "Your phone call seemed important to me." "Sharon cheated on me and rubbed it in my face," I told them, and then told them everything. "God, this is hard, man," Doug said. "I just can't believe she did something like that," Max added. "Me neither. But she did it without any shame or remorse, and she still thinks I'm overreacting. Can you believe this shit?" "So what are you going to do?" Max asked me. "I want a divorce, and I would like to punish Glenn, whoever he is, and the rest of those idiots at the party, but more importantly, I want to try to get custody of my children." "It might not be easy, Frank," Max said, "unless she was a bad mother. I mean, if she brings strange men into your house and has sex while the kids are there, then you have options. Otherwise, you're saying she's a good mother, so she'll likely get custody and you'll pay child support. I can live with it as long as I can see them as often as I like." "It's doable," Max said. "The courts want both parents to participate in raising children as long as both are good parents." "What about finances?" Doug chimed in. "Sharon is a stay-at-home mom, and I'm guessing you make a pretty good 6-figure salary. How big are your bank accounts, checking and savings, any investments, 401k, individual retirement account? All of the above, and I think it all adds up to 700 or 800,000, maybe a little more. The court will most likely split it strictly in half, give Sharon the house and custody, but if you can prove that she committed adultery, and it seems to me that you have a pretty strong argument, you won't have to pay alimony. Do you know a really, and I mean really, good divorce lawyer? In fact, one of the partners in my firm is one of the best family law attorneys in Mississippi. Her name is Maddie Simmons. Do you want me to make an appointment for you?" "Of course, and the sooner the better." "In the meantime," Doug said, "I'll see what we can do to protect some of your money. Send me every dollar of your information, and I'll take care of it." We toasted each other again, drank a little more, and said goodbye. I suddenly felt better than I ever had since this whole mess started. As I was driving back to my motel, my mind buzzing with everything I needed to do, my cell phone rang, and it was Sharon. I thought for a second, then realized I would have to talk to her eventually, so I pulled over and answered. "What do you want, Sharon?" I decided not to beat around the bush and get down to business right away. "What do you think I want, Frank?" "I want my husband to come home where he belongs." I could tell she was crying. "Well, unfortunately for you, your little, as you called it, your little fun with Glenn makes it impossible for me to return home." She burst into sobs. "Don't say that, Frank. Don't you dare say that. I only spent one night away from you after 10 years, and that is not grounds for divorce. Think again. Adultery is definitely grounds for divorce in Mississippi. Why do you keep calling it cheating? It was just one night with someone new, just a fling. When a married woman gets involved with someone new, whether it's for one night or 1 second, it's cheating. I told you that the second you had sex with another man, it would be over between us, and I wasn't kidding." "Oh God, please, Frank, you can't do this to me." "You did this to yourself, Sharon." "What the hell happened to you? Are you on hallucinogenic drugs? Did you have a mental breakdown, or are you just incredibly stupid? It just seems to me that you were so caught up in the idea of having sex with another man that you didn't care about our children or what I thought or wanted. You just had to do it. Well, guess what? You did it, and now you're paying the consequences. I thought we were really happy, nice house, 3 great kids. Our sex life was great, and then you ruined it all by sleeping with some stranger and rubbing it in my face. We have always been happy, Frank, and we are happy now. I was just wondering what it would be like to be with another man for one dirty night in our long life together. Just try someone new without harm, that's all." "No harm? For some reason you don't understand at all what harm you have caused. You completely destroyed our family overnight because of your selfishness. You have broken our life into a million pieces, and there is no hope of ever putting them back together again. First of all, Sharon, you broke my heart, even though you made it clear that you didn't care. Remember me, your husband, the man who loved you without any doubt from the moment he first saw you. A person who works long hours every day to give you and your children the life you dream of. You spat in my face and left me to find yourself in the arms and bed of a complete stranger. You gave him those parts of your body that 10 years ago, you swore that they would belong only to me. You took this oath before God, before our families and all our friends. Moreover, last night you rubbed it in my face, letting me know that you were going to do it, no matter how much I begged you not to do it. You basically told me to get the hell out, you do whatever you want, and it's none of my business. I never meant for it to look like this, Frank. I don't know why, but I didn't think I was hurting you. I just wanted to do something new. I love you. It was never about you. It was what I needed. And that's what brought you here. You took your husband out of the equation. All your cheating with Glenn last night concerned only you and him. You didn't think about me or your children. I deserve a special night just for myself. Well, fortunately for you, your Royal Highness, you got it, and it cost you your marriage to me and very likely your reputation among your family and friends. There may come a day when I forgive you, but I will never forget, and I'm going to tell everyone what you did. Just like you called me a big brat for being upset about your adultery, I'll see how you react, knowing that everyone will hear you confess that you did it to Glenn, and how many times you did it. Oh God, Frank, please, you can't do this. My parents will die if they hear this. Too bad, Sharon, you should have thought about that before you did it. You made your bed, filled it with shit, and now you can lie in it. You seem to think that what you did is like getting a traffic ticket or not returning a library book. You traded a really strong 10-year marriage with a man who adored you for late-night sex, with a complete stranger who only cared about instant gratification. Don't you feel good, Sharon, that Glenn fucked you 4 times and it cost you your family? I didn't have to lose anything, Frank. You should have loved me enough to support me and let me do it. There is not a single sane man on this planet who would support his wife in an affair just because she wanted to try someone new at night. It doesn't work that way, and you should have known it. What were you thinking, Sharon? That made you do this. I didn't think you'd be so upset about this. I mean, seriously, Frank, what's so bad about letting another man fuck me multiple times? And what I did to Glenn last night doesn't mean I love you any less. I'd heard about couples getting together at Vanderlink's, and that somehow attracted me. Why can't a husband or wife share an intimate night with a complete stranger, someone nice and safe, enjoy sex with him or her, and experience new feelings, new sensations? I decided that I wanted and needed to experience another man having sex with me. It didn't mean I loved you any less, Frank. It just meant I needed a new experience with a new man just once, and then I would commit myself to you again and never do it again. But that meant you didn't respect me. I asked you over and over again, begged you not to do this, and you just smiled and said, "See you in the morning, Frank." You have deprived me of the intimacy that you and I shared together for over 10 years. The vows that meant so little to you mean everything to me. The union of our bodies created 3 beautiful children who love us both. Together, we were a family. We belonged exclusively to each other, and now you willingly gave that part of yourself that joined with me to create these children to another man. And for what? For a good time. For a little special one-night stand? You say it was just one night and I need to accept it and come to terms with it. I say it was nothing less than a complete and utter abandonment of me, your family, your sacred oath of loyalty and allegiance, and any respect that you've ever felt for me. You wanted to fuck another man, and you did it. Congratulations, you made it. But what you really did, Sharon, was throw everything you supposedly valued and treasured into the gutter. Part of me still loves you, but I will never be a part of your life again. Damn it, Frank, why are you so stubborn? Why can't you understand that it was just what I needed and come to terms with it? I'm yours forever. Nothing has changed. Everything has changed, Sharon. You are not only mine now. I don't know why you can't understand that this was something I begged you not to do. I cannot forgive and forget. You voluntarily betrayed me, and this wound will bleed for the rest of my life. I found a lawyer, and tomorrow I will file for divorce on grounds of adultery. I will name your lover Glenn in the divorce proceedings, and every person at your little party that I can identify. And just imagine what the reaction will be when your adulterous friends find out that you are responsible for the breakup of their little club and possibly destruction of their reputations. Go to hell, Sharon, and take all your adulterer friends with you. The moment I walked into the office of Maddie Simmons, Esquire, I felt like I had found the right attorney to help me deal with the mess my life had become. She didn't do nonsense. She got straight to the point. She wanted to know what made me file for divorce and what results I would like to get from this action. I told her that I fully expected to give half of the material goods to Sharon, that I would try to make a deal by giving her our house in exchange for a slightly smaller amount of cash. I also realized that even by filing an affair, I probably wouldn't get full custody of my children, but I wanted unlimited access to them and didn't want to pay her child support. I played all the audio evidence I had of Sharon's betrayal, where she freely admitted over and over again that she and Glenn had sex all night long. Ms. Simmons shook her head over and over again, simply in disbelief that my wife was so naive that she couldn't believe that I was upset about her little affair, and even more so, that she willingly admitted her actions in a voice message, which could be used against her in court. We'll probably need to get a voice recognition expert to confirm that it's your wife's voice, she told me. But unless we get a really bad judge, the recordings should be used in court. We spent the rest of the hour discussing what I hoped to achieve against this guy, Glenn, and the others at the wife-swapping party. She doubted we could demand any monetary compensation from them, but we could probably find a way to publicize their little activities and shame them enough to cause them significant pain. I told her that this would be quite enough for me. I gave her a deposit and asked that Sharon be served as soon as possible. She said it wouldn't take long and she would let me know before it happened. On Tuesday afternoon, I picked up my kids from my mom and took them to Sharon's house. When she opened the door, she hugged and kissed all three of them tightly and then reached out to me. But I backed away from her, causing her to burst into tears and ask me to stay. I told her I couldn't, but I thought it would be nice for the kids to come home to her, and that I would pick them up on Friday to spend the weekend with me. Sharon looked like she was having a hard time, and I felt for her, but she brought it on herself, and the bad times she was going through were no worse than what I was going through because of her. On Wednesday, I returned to work. I knew I couldn't neglect my work. I needed her now more than ever, not only for the money, but also as a distraction. I felt that if I continued to wallow in the pain and self-pity of Sharon's betrayal, I would eventually go crazy, which I couldn't do for the sake of my children. On Thursday, I met up with Doug and Max again, this time for dinner at the Oyster House, where I enjoyed hand-shucked oysters and a dirty martini. Over dinner and drinks, I brought them up to date about my children and the divorce. Doug analyzed possible ways to hide some of my money, and I gave him permission to do so. It wouldn't be much, but it would help in the long run. We agreed and came up with a relatively simple way to cause problems at the wife-swapping club without running the risk of being accused of slander. Max had a good friend who was a reporter for the Biloxi Sun-Herald. He was confident that if I gave him the location of Vanderlink's house and the approximate time that the wife-swapping group met, he could learn the names of at least some of the participants and write an editorial about how the Biloxi wife-swapping was on a larger scale than most believed. Residents, and publishing a few photos of couples scurrying back and forth, hinting at the owners of certain businesses that may be involved, without naming names, will be enough for the religious majority to raise enough of a stink to cause pain for the entire group. I gave Max what little I had, and he said he'd start with that. With these joyful words, we shook hands and parted until next time. My weekend with the kids was wonderful. We went shopping for new clothes, went to Disney's Grand 18 movie theater in D'Iberville, and spent the day at the beach swimming and playing frisbee. My children were the most important thing in my life, and I vowed that I would never leave them. On Monday morning, I got a call from Max. A friend of his from the newspaper liked the story idea and was working on taking photos of the couples who walked into Vanderlinks and the new couples who walked out together. Everyone's faces would have to be blurry, but people aren't stupid, and in a city this size, it wouldn't take long for the moral majority to piece it all together. If it all came together, it would be a front-page story later this week. I have my fingers crossed. Sharon kept calling me, begging me to come home, promising that she would do anything and everything to make me forget about what she did, but she still never said she was sorry or admitted she made a mistake. On Wednesday, I heard first from my lawyer that Sharon would be served at our home on Friday morning, and then from Doug that he had found a way to hide about a third of my money by putting it in my children's names. Finally, Max called me and told me that his friend from the newspaper had done some digging and found that the wife-swapping swingers were going to meet again Friday night at Vanderlinks, and he planned to sit across the street in an unmarked van, taking pictures of everyone who came and went. He wanted to interview me again about what happened at the party, and if everything went according to plan, the article should appear in the newspaper next week. I felt better than I had in a long time. Friday came, and I waited for the call that I knew would come from Sharon after she received the divorce papers. And of course, I was not surprised. My lawyer called me at 2:30 to let me know that she had been served, and no more than 10 minutes later, my phone rang again, and the number told me it was my soon-to-be ex-wife. I smiled to myself. I wonder what she wants? I thought about sending the call to voicemail, but decided against it. "Hi Sharon, how are you?" "What the hell did you do, Frank?" Her voice was not friendly. "I filed for divorce from you, Sharon, which is what I told you I was going to do. And I told you that there will be no divorce. And you filed a report of treason? One night with another man is not cheating, Frank." "I have to disagree with you on this issue, Sharon. Spending the night with a man who is not your spouse defines adultery in Mississippi." She started crying. "Why are you so angry with me, Frank? I love you. All Glenn did was fuck me a few times. It was an affair, that's all." "Oh, sorry, Sharon, it's my fault. I had the false idea that having sex with someone other than your husband was cheating. How could I possibly have made this terrible mistake? Give it up, Sharon, it's over. I warned you over and over again and begged you not to do this, but you did it anyway, and now you will have to pay. Moreover, I believe that you will soon discover that your problems are not over yet. Goodbye, Sharon. Have a happy life." And I ended the call. The biggest problem I had was that I still loved Sharon. It probably always would be, but I could never trust her again, and there was no way I was going to stay married to a cheater. I knew I should stay away from Vanderlink's Friday night party, but I couldn't resist the urge to drive by once, just to see what was going on. I also wanted to see if Sharon's car was there, although I was pretty sure she would miss the party, at least this time. There was no sign of her car. Of course, she could have gone with someone else, and yes, I knew they only allowed couples to visit, but they made an exception for her once, and who's to say they wouldn't do it again? I did see a van parked across the street from the house and figured the reporter was out there somewhere. I wished him luck in pinning their asses. The results were not long in coming. The next afternoon, Max's friend, a reporter, called me asking for some information, which I gladly did. He told me that he had taken more than 100 photographs and recognized more than a dozen couples of the city's finest citizens. And strangely enough, it seemed unlikely that exactly the same couples were leaving the house 2 hours later. Max gave him a photograph of my wife so he could recognize her, and he assured me that she was not one of the participants entering or leaving the Vanderlink house. He asked me to describe what I saw and experienced when I was in the house during one of the key parties, and I did my best to describe how the keys were placed in a large bowl. And although I never saw that part, where the men pulled out a random key and walked off with the woman who owned it, I got a clear idea of what was about to happen from my wife's description, as well as from overhearing another couple talk about their experiences at past parties. Before we said goodbye, he asked me if he could allude to the fact that he had first-hand knowledge of at least one marriage that had been ruined by partying and children suffering because of their parents' divorce. I told him to go until the names were called. The article appeared in the Sunday edition of the newspaper, and the proverbial shit hit the proverbial fan. Not only was the article on the front news page with a large photo of the couples coming and going, their faces blurred out, but at least a dozen additional photos were spread across 4 more pages, and although every attempt was made to hide their faces, it was ridiculously easy to identify many of the participants due to the cars they drove and the clothes they wore. I mean, it was pretty much the cream of the crop in Biloxi. By Monday, the whole city was talking about the story and the parties. At least a half-dozen priests gave radio and television interviews about the evil that had infiltrated their Christian community, and civic leaders condemned the Jewel of the South for its lost morals. Lawsuits and counterclaims were filed to no avail, prominent companies lost clients, and more than one couple found themselves in divorce court. For me, it was all funny, a well-deserved retribution for the hell that I experienced due to the loss of my wife and the breakup of my family. And even if some people realized that I was being cuckolded, I wouldn't care. I got my revenge, and that's all that mattered, really. Sharon tried for months to get me to come back to her, but she never had a chance. The divorce was finalized, and I received joint custody of my children. During the months that I have them, Sharon gets them on the weekends, and vice versa when she has them. It's not the best deal in the world, but we're getting by. Oh yeah, since Sharon didn't argue with me on any part of the divorce, I let her off the hook and didn't share the audio of her admitting cheating with her family or friends. As for the couples who participated in the key parties, some of them got divorced and moved away. Maybe skipping town is a better word. As for Sharon and I, she started dating again. I'm still not sure she fully understands why I found her actions completely unacceptable. But that's her problem, and I wish whoever becomes her future husband the best of luck. I dated several very nice young women, but never found one I was willing to spend the rest of my life with. Some have wanted to move in with me, but I'm still a little hesitant when it comes to giving a woman a key. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one. Listening to the next one. Listening to the next one. Listening to the next one.